All right, everyone, playing some 5-card high-low today, otherwise known as Big O. First hand, I look down at ace, ace, queen, 5-4, single suited in middle position. Folds to me, I open a 15. The button and one of the blinds calls, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 10-3, all hearts, checks over to me. I decide to check back for deception. Most people, when you raise pre-flop in Big O, they just assume you have a low only hand. So when you check to them, they're going to typically take a stab on a flop like this that has, 2 high cards. So I check over to the button who bets 20, fold over to the blind who folds. I check raise to 65 and he makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings an 8. I decide to bet 160 and my opponent thinks a bit, but unfortunately folds, so we take it down. Here, look down at ace, king, king, queen, 6, double suited on the button. There are 3 limpers to me. I decide to limp, both the blinds call, and we're going 6 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 4-2 with 2 spades. Checks to me, I bet 15, and there are 4 callers, so we're going 5 ways to a turn. Turn brings in the front door flush with an 8 of spades. Checks over to me again, I bet 30, and everyone calls again, so still going 5 ways to a river. River brings an ace of spades, now giving us the nut flush, although it does kind of kill our low. But checks over to me again, and I figure now that I'm not going to really win the low side of the hand, but should be good on the high unless someone has 5-3 of spades. But I bet 90, and there are 2 callers. Turn over my hand, knowing I obviously have the nuts here, and one of the opponents turns over pocket 8s, which is not going to work. But then the other position player turns over 5-3, so he rivered the wheel, and me and him are going to chop it up. Here, look down at ace, queen, jack, 10-5, double suited in the hijack. Pre-flop, there was a early position raise to 15. I called and another caller, so 3 ways to a flop, which came ace, 10-7 with 2 hearts. Early position player bet 20, 1 caller to me, and I decided to call, so 3 ways to a turn. Turn brought another ace. Early position player bet 80. Other player folded over to me. I made it 280, back to him. He ended up tanking for a little bit, but made the call, so we're going heads up to a river. River brings a 2. My opponent only has $100 left, and he puts it all in the middle, and I, of course, make the call. He turns over his hand and shows ace, 8-8, 5-5, so he flopped the flush draw, turned trips, and then rivered the 8-5 low, and unfortunately, I don't have the other low card to go with my 5, so we're going to chop it up here. Here, look down at ace, king, king, 8-5, double suited in the cutoff. There's an early position raise to 10. 1 caller to me, I call, and there are 2 other callers, so we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes ace, jack, 6 with 2 spades. Checks over to me, I bet 50. Player to my left pushes for his remaining $125. Over to one of the early position players who calls for less. Back to me, and I make the call, so we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn brings a 3. River brings an 8. But it's the 8 of spades, so I turn over my hand with the nut flush. Button to my left turns over ace 7, 6, 4, 2, so he flopped 2 pair and turned the nut low, and the short stack player that was all in mucked, so me and the button are going to chop it up here. Here, look down at ace 6, 5, 4, 2, single suited in middle position. Folds to me, I open a 10. Player to my left calls, and one of the blinds calls, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes 10-3-2 rainbow. Checks to me, I bet 10. Player to my left calls over to the big blind who makes it 30. I make it 110 over to the player to my left. He only has 190 left. He puts it all in the middle. Over to the big blind who decides to also push for about 370 total. And of course I call. So we're going 3 ways to a run out. Turn brings the beautiful 6 of spades, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. River brings the 9 of diamonds. I turn over my hand. The early position player turns over his. He has 10-10, 6-3-3. So he flopped 2 sets, turned another pair, and we're going to scoop him. Player to my left has ace, king, queen, 10-4. So he flopped top pair, and me and him are going to chop up the low section of the pot. So we're getting 3 quarters here. Here, look down at queen, jack, 4-3-2, double suited in the big blind. We end up going 6 ways to a flop, which comes ace, 7-5, 2 spades. Checks to me, I bet 10, and there are 3 callers, so we're going 4 ways to a turn. Turn brings a 10, checks to me again, I bet 25, and there are 3 callers, so still going 4 ways to a river. River brings an 8 of spades, checks to me again, I check over to the late position player who only has 150 left. He puts it all in the middle. Folds over to the small blind to my right, who quickly makes the call. And if he didn't call, I would have probably had to call with the nut low here. But as played, I decide to fold. Late position player turns over ace queen of spades, and small blind to my right had jack 9 3 2. Don't remember his fifth card, but he also had the nut low, and they're going to chop it up. Here, look down at ace king jack 4 2, single suited under the gun. I limp. There are a couple other limpers. Over to the button, who makes it 15. Folds to me, I call, and there are two other callers, so we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 6 3 rainbow. I bet 15 is a blocker bet. Folds over to the original raiser, who makes it 55 total, and I make the call, so we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings an ace. I check over to the original raiser, who also decides to check, so still going heads up to a river. River brings a jack, now improving us to 2 pair to go along with our nut low. I bet 110, and my opponent quickly calls. I turn over my hand, and he turns over his. He has ace king queen 3 2. So he flopped 2 pair, turned 3 pair, and we're going to chop it up here. Here, look down at ace king queen 10 6, double suited in the big blind. There are a couple limpers, small blind calls. I call as well, and we're going 4 ways to a flop. Flop comes king jack 10 with 2 hearts. Small blind checks to me, I check over to the button, who bets 20. Folds to me, I make it 50, and back to him, and he makes the call. So we're going heads up to a turn. Turn brings in the front door flush with a 3 of hearts. I check as a trap, and unfortunately my opponent checks back, so still going heads up to a river. River brings a 7, I bet 75, and unfortunately my opponent folds, so we take it down. Here, look down at ace 10 9 6 4, single suited on the button. There are a couple limpers. I also limp. Both the blinds call, and we're going 5 ways to a flop. Flop comes 7 3 2 with 2 clubs. Checks over to the big blind, who bets 15. 1 caller to me, I min raise to 30, and both players call, so we're going 3 ways to a turn. Turn brings the 8 of clubs. Both my opponents check to me. I bet 40, and only the big blind calls, so we're going heads up to a river. River brings a 5. My opponent checks to me again. I bet 100, and my opponent doesn't look too happy about it, but he makes the call. I turn over my hand. He turns over ace jack 7 4 2, so he flopped 2 pair along with the nut low, and we're going to get 3/4 of the pot here. I played another 30 minutes after that previous hand, didn't really get much to play. I played for about 4 hours total and decided to rack up.
What's up, guys? Wayne back here with you. So today I was in for 300, out for 730, so profit of 430. I was trying to get into the 5-5-10 mix game, which you saw probably about a month ago, but it's kind of a situation where it's essentially a private game that they kind of run in the casino. So for example, the game started today and they had a seat open, and they actually held it for the guy for like 45 minutes. So pretty hard to get into the game. Let me know if you guys have ever dealt with the kind of private games or home games in the casino. But getting used to the Big O. Hopefully I can get back into the mix game down the road. But let me know what you guys think. And if you guys haven't seen the previous episode, I'll link it up here, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.